Good morning, everyone. Sharon Ann here. Welcome to Metamorphosis from Trauma to Thyroid podcast, where we talk about all things surrounding anxiety, depression, PTSD, dissociation, and mental health. I'm your host, Sharon Ann, and today I'll be doing a solo episode all about navigating sensory overload as a trauma survivor. You see, friends, being a trauma survivor myself from childhood abuse that has now led to dissociative identities, I know a thing or two about how it has shaped my perspective on resilience and healing. As we embark on this discussion, let's reflect on two quotes from the Rugrats movie that resonate with the challenges and triumphs of overcoming sensory overload. Are there any 90s kids in the house? That's a hard one. Anyone who was around in the 90s? If so, I can remember the show in the late 90s when I first came to America playing on Cartoon Network. My favorite Rugrats character was Chucky. I cannot talk. My favorite Rugrats character is Chucky. Chucky was my favorite character because, like him, I have a tendency to worry about everything. I'm nervous about a lot of things. Loyal, but like Chucky, I'm always willing to support and encourage my friends. For some reason, Chucky makes me think of Chuck E. Cheese. And I was the rat way back in the day. It was like my first real job, being the rat at Chuck E. Cheese. It was quite the experience. And let me just tell you, it is very hard to see winning costume. My interpretation of this quote is how trauma survivors are sensitive to stimuli, and stimuli can trigger overwhelming emotions, reminding us of the intricate connection between our sensory experiences and emotional well-being. I'll go ahead and share that on my end, I absolutely cannot stand it when I'm around someone who speaks Spanish and they are particularly screaming as they talk on the phone. My body gets tense, my spine feels like it's on fire, as I'm instantly reminded of my mother and how she screams on the phone to get her point across to others, execute her authority in any given situation placed before her. Her loud talking growing up is always followed by the phrase, "Oh my God," then me getting manipulated into doing some favor. But if I follow through, it ends with her telling me I didn't do it the right way, or the favor isn't perfect in her eyes. But then again, what is perfection? Because one person's level of perfection is different from someone else's level of perfection. Just as what one person considers normal is different than what someone else considers normal. The quote from Rugrats is, "Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in our heart." Again, the quote from Rugrats is, "Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in our heart." And Winnie Pooh also said the same quote. I'll go ahead and share that on my end, I used to love going to church on Sunday mornings and sitting in the church sanctuary. I like being able to people watch as the preacher delivered his weekly talk. I used to like the music and be okay with the bright LED lights, the laser light show, and loud music. But not anymore. Now, I wear blue light glasses because I can't stand the LED lighting, and I usually end up in the foyer or family room where it's quiet and I can relax a bit. On mental health. Sensory overload can exacerbate, that's a big word, panic attacks and dissociation for trauma survivors. There have been times where, for me, I cried up a storm in the bathroom at a conference because I can't handle large crowds. I can't distinguish my own voice from the voice of my alters. Talk about DID or dissociation. I can remember last week I went for a morning walk in the city. I ended just as the sun came up for the day and traffic started to pick up. There were cars going down one-way roads, cops at every corner directing traffic, and crosswalks beeping the countdown as people crossed the street. Beep beep 5, beep beep 4, beep beep 3, beep beep 2, beep beep 1. You may now cross the street. I recall at one point I became too overwhelmed with everything going around me. I started crying uncontrollably till I looked like a great giant tomato in the face. Actually, I was a giant tomato. I mean, crying uncontrollably. Yep. The cop asked if I was okay, and I told her, "Is working in the city always this fast-paced? I feel like everything's coming at me at once." And her response was, "Yep, the city is always crazy." My recording? Okay, I am recording. I started doing some random EFT tapping while saying my daily affirmations. I am strong. I am brave. I can do hard things. And so on and so on. And then I was okay. I say all this because it's important when facing sensory overload to explore coping mechanisms that enable us to navigate overwhelming moments and protect our mental well-being. Some of the strategies I use when facing sensory overload are deep breathing, listening to instrumental music, tapping, closing my eyes and saying my affirmations, or even prayer. The second quote I like to look at is from Tommy Pickles on Rugrats. It's one of my favorite quotes on the show. A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do. I'm going to say that with energy. A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do. And Tommy has a valid point. Sometimes in life you gotta face your fears head on, even when they seem scary. This mantra serves as a powerful reminder that in the face of sensory overload, we need or must embrace our instincts and find strength in doing things that we need to do to protect ourselves. This includes setting boundaries, learning how to take a time out for ourselves when necessary, seeking support by calling up a friend, or reaching out to a safe person who can lend a listening ear. Lastly, self-care is important, such as going for a walk or enjoying a Netflix movie in our pajamas. Continuing on, with overcoming sensory stimulation, it's important to look at our toolkit. Now that one makes me think of Bob the Builder when we talk about toolkit. I cannot talk. Thinking about a toolkit makes me think of Bob the Builder. And with overcoming sensory stimulation, we need to go out there and have a toolkit, which can include mindful exercises such as yoga, Pilates, deep breathing, and prayers. And I feel that the Robot characters teach us it's important as trauma survivors to also show ourselves kindness and realize that in times when our senses are all over the place, we need to be patient with ourselves. If I could leave you all with one final thought, it's to please take into account that sensory overload as a trauma survivor is as complex and challenging aspect of the healing journey. But just like Rugrats, sometimes doing what we gotta do is an act of courage and self-preservation. Thank you. To the audience, thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. If there's a topic you'd like to discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest speaker on the podcast, please let me know in the comments. Until next time, bye-bye everyone. Thank you for listening.